Okay, so I hope you guys have although this is a short break, but I hope you guys have a good rest, and let's face the the rest of the course here. So before the break, what we introduced is general forms of a program here, and we introduced the 3 key features in any C code. And after the break, the first topic I want to talk about is very important things, although it won't influence the outcome of your code. But this is a very critical thing that I really want to introduce, that is comment. So comment, 注解, in the program design can like this. So this is the code, the example code that I screenshot from the GitHub. So if you go to GitHub and find out some like trending repository in C, you can see a bunch of really cool C project on GitHub, and then just find one of the project and go inside to see some very good coding style. So you can see that for those trending projects on the GitHub, for those expert programmers in C, you can see they write the comments a lot. So comments is really important if you really want to become a good programmer, I will say. So how to write down comments in C? So the purpose of the comments are serve as documentations. So it can help programmers, help other programmers, help yourself to understand what the meaning of each lines and the purpose of programs. For example, for a good documentation at the top of the program will always explain what is the purpose of this code, what is the usage of these programs, and for the most of the time will like specify what is the author of this code. So if you go to the trending repository in C, you will see all these things, and comments can appear almost anywhere in your code, either on the separate line or the same line. So there are two types of comments in C. The first is a multi-line comment here. So you need to use the slash, start, and start slash to indicate the start and the end of the multi-line comment. So all the information goes within these two symbols will be considered comment. And the other type of a comment is a single line comment. So you just need to indicate the start of the comment here. That is the double slash here. So each line you need to add a double slash here, and it will end automatically at the end of a line. So it will look like this. And if you use a good IDE, the IDE will just use different color for the comments here. So it's very hard to not notice this is the comment and this is the other things is not comment. So here we have the multi-line comment like here. So usually we will put if you have a lot of information, we like to use multi-line comment like this. But if you just want to provide some brief introduction or definition for like each variable you have here, then single line comment is a better choice. And there are some bug related to comment here. So the first bug is that sometimes we just forgot to end a multi-line comment. If you forgot to do that, it might cause the compiler to ignore part of your code. For example, if we have this, so if we forgot to end the multi-line comment for this one, then the compiler will consider these two printf also include in the multi-line comment start here, and this multi-line comment end here. So you will see the output will look like this, not the anticipated output. But for the modern IDE, I will say this is a bug that can be easily avoided, because you will see that the tags have different colors. So if you notice that, you will know that you forgot to end your comment. So just like I said, for the beginner of coding, it's super important to have the habits of writing comments in your code, no matter how small the code is. Because I believe if you have some experience writing code, this must happen to you a lot of time, right? So to avoid that, it is good that at the beginning, from the beginning, please have a good habit to write the comments on your code. So maybe after 1 or 2 weeks, you need to review your you need to review your code. You can still understand what you are writing about. And here I provide a really good tutorial online. It's from the Stack Overflow. So it will tell you about what is the best practice for writing code comment. So I know it's in English, but I would say it's not really hard, and they have a lot of example here. So I highly recommend, if you really want to become the good programmers, please take some time to read this tutorial. So the next thing I'm going to introduce is variable and assignment. So for the first code we have introduced so far, we just showed you how we can use C to print out information. But C programs can actually do more than just printing messages. C can do a lot of things. C can perform a series of calculations and then output the outcomes of the calculations. And you can use C to write calculators and do a lot of data analysis. So to do that, the next concept we need to understand is that how can we store all this information and data in our code temporarily, and then we can do some manipulation, we can do some calculation on these values. So what are we going to do? So we need, in C or in most of the modern programming language, we use variables to store data. So variable means that we have a place, we have a location, we have a rooms to store the data we have. So variable is like a box here, and the data we're going to put inside the variable is just like the thing we put into a box. So each variables must have a type that specifies what kind of the data this variable can store. Just like we have a different box should store different things. So in C provides a wide variety of types. There are many types you can use in C. So the most common type is int and float. So int stands for integer. So integer means 整数. So you can see the value that belongs to integer look like this. And the other type is called float. So float stands for floating point values. So floating point values look like the value like this. And in Chinese, I remember it called it 浮点数because the floating point. So very like straightforward, but I will say if you remember the English name, then it is very easy to understand why this type of the value called float. So here we have two types, int and float. So floats are the value, we have the decimal point here. So all these values are called floating point value. So it is very important to choose proper type based on what type of the data you want to store inside the variables. Because type will influence how this variable is stored or how the data is stored inside the variables and what operation can perform, what kind of calculation we can apply on the variables. So you can just think about that. Just like different type of box have different size, like we have the int box, we have the float box, and these two boxes have different size, have different, are made by different materials. So it will affect how this box can store different type of data. So normally, float variable can store much larger number than the int variable. So if we use int variable to store the float data, the space won't be enough. And also for the float variable, this float variable can store the numbers with the digits after decimal point. So only use the float type variable, then you can store all the complete information of the floating point value. And because float variable is larger than int variable, so during the computations, float might be slower than the computation with int. So you can see that the type of a variable indeed influence a lot of things in your code. So it's very important to choose the proper type for your value. And how to have the variable and how to store data in the variable in C. So the first thing to use variable is that we need to declare the variable before we use the variable. We need to tell our C program that, okay, now I have this variable. Please give me the rooms of the box for this variable, and then I can use this variable to store some data or do the other calculations. So this is very important to do the declarations in C, so that the other following statements will know that, okay, these variables, this box that we can use. So how to declare a variable in C, or how to declare different variable in C? First, we can see it here. So here is an example of two declarations. So you can see for these two declarations, I declare one integer variable called height, and the other variable is a float variable, and the name is called profit. So to declare a variable, first we need to provide the type of the variable here, and then we need to name the variable like this. And most importantly, please don't forget to end the declaration with a semicolon here, because declaration also belongs to statement. And here we can also use another way to declare several variables with the same type at once. So if all these variables have the same type, int, then I can declare like this. And if these two variables all have the same type float, I can declare these two variables in one line like this. So after we declare some variable for later use, how can we store the data? How can we store the value inside this these variables. So so we will call the action of storing the data into variable assignment. So that means that we assign some value to the variable. So this is assignment. So how to do the assignment? So we can use the code like this. So we can use the equal symbol here. So by doing this, that means that I assign 8, this integer value to height, 12 to length, and something like this. And here, if I want to assign a float value to the float variable, I can run down something like this. And this is a better version of the floating point assignment. So the F here indicate that this is a float value. So this is more precise for your for the C compiler. So one important thing is that please, if you need to do the declaration first and then assignment. Please don't assign value to the variable before declarations, because C doesn't know there is this variable before declaration. So the C don't know where to assign if you don't declare the variable first. And the next thing is that please assign the correct type, or assign the proper type of data to the correct type of variable. So here you can see we have an example of mixing types here. So the mixing types means that I assign the data that have a different type with the type of the variable here. So you can still do the assignments. So C won't have any error message here, but the missing type will cause a lot of problems if you want to do the other calculation on height. So the first problem you can easily think about is that if we assign 8.1 to height, and you can try to print out the value in height, you can see that the value stored inside the height variable is 8 instead of 8.1. So that means that you will miss information if you do this wrong assignment. So we can assign numbers like constant, integer, floating point to variable like this. We can also assign an output of expression to the variables. So like the example we have here. So here what we did is that we assign the output of this expression to the variable volume. So what the value that's gonna store inside volume will be the outcomes of height multiplied length multiplied width. So this is what we can do. And this expression can involve a lot of different operators. So we can have a multiplication, addition, a lot of things. And we will introduce more operator in the expression chapters. It will be like 2 or 3 weeks later, we will go into the chapter about expression. So just remember, we can assign the constant to variable. We can also assign outcomes from the expression to a variable. So the final topics I want to cover today is how to print the value from a variable in C. So this is a very simple thing to do. We just use the function printf, and we can use the printf to print out the current value that's stored inside a variable. So if we want to write some message like this, so what this message want to do is that I want to print out height, the message here, and I want to print out the value that's stored inside the variable called height. So the lowercase h here indicates is what the lowercase h is the current value of the height variable. So we can use this function code to achieve this. So what we did, the first thing is that we need to write down printf, right? And then we need to write down the message I want to print out, that is height. So I write out height here. And remember, all these things need to put inside the double quotations. And the next thing is a special thing, that is a percent symbol and D. So the percent symbol and D is a placeholder. It's a special symbol that tells C that this is where the value of height will be filled in. So you can see that we have the percent D here. And then I have a slash H and then finish the string here. And what is new is that we have a height here. So that means that this height is the integer we have here. So we declared height is an integer variable, and we assign 8 to height. Then we use this printf to print out the value stored inside height. So I can put the variable that I want to print out in the printf, and I will put it after the double quotation I have here, and then I will just put a comma here, and then I just write down height. So by doing this, I can successfully print out the desired message. And if I just change the place I have for the percent D, the value of height will be printed out at the place I put the percent D. So the message will become like this because I moved the percent D from here to here. So this is how we can print out a value stored inside a variable. What is interesting is that percent D, so maybe some of you might wonder what is percent D, what D stands for. So we will talk about this more, but now what you need to remember is that percent D only works for integer variables. So if we want to print out the float variable like this, like the float variable like profit and loss like this, we need to use percent F. So here is some example of how we can use percent F to print out the floating point value stored inside float variable. So by default, the percent F will print out a number with 6 digits after the decimal point. But we can modify this percent F a bit, so to make a customized printout. So if I write down percent F like 2.2 F here, then the output information will look like this. The output will only print out 2 digits after decimal point. So if we just change the number from 2 to 4, that means that the output will print out the 4 digits after decimal point. So please don't worry, you cannot remember this because there are more other things we can use for this special symbol here. We can even have a percent 1.2 F or minus percent 1.2 F. There are a lot of different combinations. So we will talk about that when we talk about the chapter about formatted I/O. So the next thing is that we can actually use one printf to print out multiple variables. So for example, like this, I can use 2%D, and I put 2 integer variable like this, so that there's no limit to the number of the variable that we can print by a single printf. And we can also put the numeric expression here. So what's gonna print out by the second printf is the outcomes of this numeric expression. So this is then another way we can print out information in C code. Okay, so for the final thing, I want to give you guys in-class practice here. So if you have your phone, if you have your computers, please try to go to the online C compilers I introduced before. And if you have your, you can go to this slide, you can just click the link here. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, it's not working right now. Why? It's dead. Okay, interesting. Okay, so I think this platform is just dead. Or let us wait a second. So what this in-class practice is to let you test if you understand what we taught today. So we have 3 things you need to do. So please try to write some code down. So if you don't have any like the digital devices, you can have a pen and paper and try to write it down. So the first task you need to do is to try to write down the code to declare 3 integer variable and then assign them the following value like this. So you need to have a 2 integer variable and 1 floating point variable. And the name should be num1, num2, and float 1. And try to write down some C code to assign this value to the declared variable. This is the first task you need to do. And then the second task is to print out the value like this. So the first, print out the outcome of this expression. And print out this using the float 1. So here you can only print out 1 digit after decimal point. So how to do that? And the third printf function should print out the value to print out the outcomes of these 2 printf in 1 line. And your output should look like this. So please try to write some code. If you don't have the access to IDE. Oh, here, okay. So if you successfully open the website like this, you can copy and pass all the information to the IDE you have. And then try to test if you can finish all these things. So you should be able to finish it in like 3 minutes, no longer than 3 minutes. So let's wait 3 minutes because I want to force everyone here to write down something today before we end today's class. So I believe that's 1 minute already passed, so we still have 2 minutes. Is anyone haven't finished yet? Oh, it can, okay. So if the website still cannot work, I will recommend you just open a notebook app or something like that and just type the code on the notebook, and then you can try to compile your code after the class to see if you got it right. 2, 1. Okay. So I believe all of you can got it right because this is but please don't feel too frustrated if you don't know how to write the code for this. All you need to do is to review the slide we have here because all the answers is in the slide. Okay. So actually that is all the thing I want to introduce today. Today we introduce our first C code and then we introduce what is the general forms of a C programs. We introduce 3 key features you need to have and we emphasize the importance of the comments here. We introduce 2 types of the comments you can write and then we introduce the concept of a variable, assignment, declarations, and we talk about how to use printf to print out the value stored inside different type of variable. And for the next class, I'm going to introduce another new function called scanf. We can use scanf to read the information we input. And then we will finish the fundamental about C. So that is all for today, and thank you for coming.